We all revere the Great Wall as China's colossal ribbon across history. But some of the country's most surreal landscapes, stone pillars that inspired Avatar, a frozen ice city you can walk through, and a sacred mountain no one is allowed to climb, are stranger than any legend. In this video, you'll discover why Zhangjiajie's floating peaks and Mount Kailash's untouchable summit hide stories almost too strange to believe. Huangshan's granite peaks host more than 1,800 uniquely shaped pinnacles and a forest of endemic pines clinging to sheer cliffs. Do you know Huangshan's sea of clouds results from cold air trapped beneath warm layers, producing otherworldly vistas that inspired poets and ink painters for centuries? Almost every summit is named for the emotion it evokes, like Lotus Peak and Clear Sky Terrace, and each name comes with a legend. Granite spires carved by wind and ice form shapes that seem to tell stories, and on foggy mornings, the landscape dissolves into islands of rock. Hidden staircases of stone and ancient iron chains guide travelers past hot springs and crystal-clear pools, revealing a layered ecology from subtropical foothills to alpine summits. Rare species such as the Huangshan pine and several endemic insects survive in microhabitats formed by mist and sunlight, making conservation here crucial. Artists from the Song and Ming dynasties immortalized specific rocks and trees, and modern photographers still chase that exact sliver of light that once defined a classical painting. Tea terraces and sleepy villages like Hongkun sit on the mountain's lower slopes, their white-walled homes mirroring peaks and canals, and offering a human counterpoint to the stone giants above. Trails link Huangshan to nearby cultural sites, so a hike can move seamlessly from jagged summits to ancestral halls where painters once retreated for solitude. To follow Huangshan's influence further is to step toward nearby Wuyuan, where the same misty light-shaped rural paintings and rice terraces echo the mountain's layered textures. The next stop carries that visual language into villages and waterways, proving that Huangshan's stone poetry still writes the visual identity of this region. The Potala Palace sits at 3,700 meters above sea level, its white and red walls rising like a citadel over Lhasa. Do you know the Potala Palace contains more than 1,000 rooms and once housed the remains of several Dalai Lamas? Built on the Marpori Hill, its foundation required cutting into the mountain and hauling stones by hand. Inside, golden chapels, endless murals, and towering stupas preserve centuries of Tibetan spiritual art and political history. The White Palace served as the administrative quarters, while the Red Palace became the sacred heart of monastic ritual. Pilgrims still circle its base along the Barkor, connecting this monumental complex to the nearby Jokang Temple and market lanes. From the roof terraces you can see Norbolinka's green gardens, and on clear days, the glinting blue of Yamdruk Lake below. That visual chain links Lhasa's spiritual center to the broader landscape that has shaped Tibetan belief and survival. Conservationists face an unusual challenge here, preserving fragile Thangka paintings and ancient timber beams at high altitude. Visitors often remark that the palace's silence seems to hold the echoes of centuries of debate, devotion, and decree. The Potala's architecture blends Chinese, Nepali, and Indian influences, revealing Tibet's role as a crossroads of cultures. Its massive prayer halls still smell of butter lamps and incense, and the sound of gomang drums can rise during festival seasons. Around the palace, the city's narrow alleys funnel pilgrims toward Jokang, then outward to the plateau's lakes and mountain passes. That route can eventually lead travelers south toward the slopes that rise to Komalangma, known to much of the world as Mount Everest. Each layer of Potala's walls holds inscriptions and relics that chart political shifts and the evolution of Tibetan Buddhism. In this way, Potala Palace remains not only a museum of the past, but an active participant in living cultural continuity. As you descend toward the Barkor market, the palace watches over daily life, its shadow connecting history to present routines. That connection is the thread we'll follow next, tracing how Lhasa's sacred center shaped the rhythms of an entire plateau. From the high deserts and salt flats of the Tibetan Plateau, the silhouette of Mount Kailash rises like a dark cathedral. Do you know that Mount Kailash, though only 6,638 meters tall, is considered the Axis Mundi by Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and Bon, and yet no one is allowed to climb its summit? Pilgrims arrive here in ragged fleece and fine silk, compelled by stories older than many nations. They perform the Kora, a clockwise circuit that traces the mountain's spiritual contours and is believed to erase lifetimes of karma. The Kora weaves past glacial streams and under stony ridges where prayer flags tremble like captured scouts. Local Sherpas and nomads will tell you that the air near Kailash tastes different, thin, and charged with a silence you can feel. Behind this silence are legends. The mountain is said to be Shiva's throne, a cosmic center where heaven and earth meet. Pilgrims fast, prostrate, and endure nights in bitter cold to complete the 52-kilometer circumambulation, sometimes taking 3 days and sometimes 7. Geologists call Kailash an isolated peak of granite and metamorphic rock, but the faithful call it unapproachable, sacred, and unbroken by human footprints. This paradox, a mapped peak that remains unclimbed, is one of the mountain's strangest truths. In winter, wind scours the passes clean, and the only colors are the flags and the ochre robes of monks making their way across the snow. In summer, nomadic yaks graze and the valley bursts with alpine flowers against the stark backdrop of stone. To reach Mount Kailash today requires days on rough roads and hours of acclimatization, effort that filters out the casual tourist and leaves only those ready for a true journey. And standing at the mountain's base, you start to sense why entire civilizations have folded their beliefs around this single, uncompromising silhouette. The Karst towers surrounding Guilin rise as sheer limestone pillars, sculpted by river and rain, creating one of the planet's most concentrated tower karst landscapes. Do you know that the Li River, which threads between these pinnacles, carries sediments that slowly carve caves and entomb fossilized marine life within the stone? Locals have long treated these outcrops like living maps, naming peaks after animals, emperors, and legends that only reveal themselves from certain bends. Sail down from Guilin toward Yangtze, and the panorama shifts with every curve as reflected mountains double in the still water, like ancient ink paintings. Beneath that poetic surface lie secret caves, some with underground rivers so wide they host ecosystems cut off from daylight. Stalactites and stalagmites grow with glacial patience here, their mineral teeth spelling a slow history of sea, mountain, and rain. Step into reed flute or lesser-known caverns, and you pass through chambers where human history meets geology, with inscriptions and artifacts preserved in limestone folds. From cave mouths to terraced paddies, the Karst directs how fields were carved and villages perched, linking geology to the rhythm of harvests. Photographers chase a fragile light that slips between towers at dawn, while geologists trace veins of ancient seabed, lifted and cracked by tectonic breath. The same ridges guide migratory birds and shape microclimates, where orchids and rare ferns cling to vertical cliffs. Follow a bamboo raft, and you'll pass villages whose roofs mirror the sky, moist, their culture grown from and grown around these very stones. Understanding Guilin's Karst is to see time in layers, seafloors raised, rivers etched, human hands adapting to impossible slopes. Stay with us, and we'll unravel how those layers connect to nearby Yangtze terraces and the people who read them, like a living atlas. Hidden within Sichuan's mist-soaked bamboo canopies, the Chengdu research base of giant panda breeding protects one of the largest and most genetically diverse collections of captive giant pandas in existence. Do you know the base uses lifelike panda puppets, strict no-human contact protocols, and purpose-built simulated habitats, so cubs imprint on their species and retain wild behaviors? Each day begins with meticulous checks, cub temperatures, feeding schedules, and carefully measured portions of nutrient-rich bamboo shoots chosen to match seasonal chemistry. The research teams here have refined reproductive science, from hormone monitoring and ultrasound to timed artificial insemination, raising survival rates that once seemed impossible. Beyond the nursery, botanists cultivate dozens of bamboo varieties on site, mapping growth cycles so pandas always have the tender shoots they prefer during critical development stages. Behavioralists design enrichment programs that coax natural skills out of captive-born pandas, encouraging climbing, solitary foraging, and cautious social encounters long before release. In laboratories, geneticists sequence family lines to avoid inbreeding, while microbiologists analyze gut flora so released animals can properly digest rough bamboo in the wild. The base's education wing turns casual visitors into partners in conservation, using immersion, local storytelling, and volunteer programs to fund field stations across China's mountain ranges. For visitors, the experience is transformative, not just an encounter with a national symbol, but a close look at science, community, and the long, patient work of rebuilding wildness. What you leave with is not merely a photograph, but a clearer sense of how fragile systems are mended, one bamboo shoot and one healed lineage at a time. In Chengdu, conservation feels both intimate and global, a living laboratory where ancient forests and modern science negotiate the future of an icon species. The story of the giant panda here is not finished. It is being rewritten, quietly, cub by cub, behind a curtain of bamboo that hides both struggle and hope. Zhangjiajie National Forest Park is home to more than 3,000 towering quartz sandstone pillars, some rising over 200 meters, creating one of the planet's rarest vertical forests. Do you know Zhangjiajie shelters living fossils, primitive ferns and cycads clinging to cliff faces that survived millions of years and hint at prehistoric subtropical ecosystems? Walk among these stone columns, and you enter a place where erosion has carved sheer spires, natural bridges, and hidden grottos that defy ordinary landscape logic. The park sits inside the Wulingyuan Scenic Area, whose geology connects like a chain to nearby sandstone peaks and glass walkways on Tianmen Mountain. Mist often wraps the pillars in layers, and those drifting clouds create shifting corridors that early photographers mistook for floating islands. Local guides tell stories of springs that appear only after storms and sinkholes that reveal underground streams tied to the same karst system that shaped nearby caves. One sandstone tower supports a rare microhabitat where mosses and orchids sip moisture from fog, sustaining species found nowhere else outside these cliffs. Scientists have discovered endemic insects and amphibians here, whose evolutionary paths mirror the isolating effect of each pillar, like islands in a stone sea. In the next segment, we'll climb a narrow stair to an overlook that transforms the pillars into a forest of columns, each with its own name and legend. There we will meet researchers who study living fossils and local elders who still navigate the cliffs by memory, passing knowledge from generation to generation. Prepare to see how Yangtze's geology connects to broader stories of China's ancient landscapes, and while be preserving these stone forests matters far beyond Hunan. This is more than scenery. It's a living archive that challenges what we thought we knew about evolution, climate, and the resilience of life on sheer rock. China's northeastern plains become a dazzling natural canvas each winter when Harbin's ice and snow world rises with translucent towers carved from river ice. Do you know the frozen Songhua River provides the gigantic ice blocks that builders shape into palaces taller than a 10-story building? At night, colored lights flood the translucent walls, turning the park into a cathedral of color that seems to breathe. St. Sophia Cathedral and Zhongyang Street, nearby relics of Harbin's multicultural past, lead visitors from Victorian domes to neon ice boulevards. Master sculptors from across China and Russia compete here, carving mythic beasts, modern sky routines, and delicate replicas of ancient temples from pure ice. The festival's scale connects Harbin to Changbai Mountain's frosty forests, where natural ice crystals form in hidden groves, continuing the region's winter storytelling. Children race down ice slides and chefs sculpt dishes from frozen blocks, while at the Ice Lantern Fair traditional lantern making meets sub-zero innovation. Even the food markets adapt, offering steaming dumplings and northeastern hot pot that trace culinary roots back to immigrant traders who once crossed the nearby borderlands. By the time the thaw arrives, the city stages a ceremonial melting that feels like a community exhale, and riverboats reclaim channels once blocked by mammoth blocks. But memories linger. Postcards, photographs, and the tactile lessons of craftsmen keep Harbin's winter alive beyond the calendar. If you think Harbin is only about cold, the festival reveals heat, the heat of human creativity, trade networks, and stories frozen into port. Stay with us, and we'll trace how a frozen river and a city's imagination build one of the world's most extraordinary seasonal cities. Mount Everest, Kamalangma, rises to 8,048.6 meters, making its summit the planet's highest point where oxygen is scarce and sunlight slices through an ultra-thin atmosphere. This rooftop of the world preserves fossilized seashells and marine sediments near its upper slopes, strange reminders that these peaks were once a seabed millions of years ago. Do you know Mount Everest, Kamalangma, still gains height by several millimeters each year as the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates continue to collide? Do you know its highest reaches harbor hardy microbial life and lichen communities that survive in conditions most life forms cannot tolerate, rewriting our ideas of habitability? The northern approach is guarded by the vast Rongbuk Glacier and Tibetan monasteries that treat the mountain as a living deity, blending geology with deep cultural devotion. At lower elevations, Khumbu's terraced fields and prayer flags mark a human presence that has adapted for centuries to thin air and brutal winters. Along the climbing routes, weather can turn from crystalline calm to murderous storms in hours, and the mountain's death zone above 8,000 meters has frozen many attempts into permanent memorials. Items left behind, oxygen canisters, tents, even the remains of climbers, have become grim waypoints that tell a story of ambition and cost. Yet Everest is not only a stage for extreme sport. It shapes rivers, monsoon patterns, and the livelihoods of millions downstream, whose water begins in these glaciers. As we descend from its icefall and serac towers, the landscape shifts toward rhododendron forests and human-scaled valleys that carry the mountain's water and stories below. From here, our journey continues into the high plateaus and glacial lakes, fed by Everest's melt, where another set of hidden wonders awaits. These lakes reflect not only Skyen's summit, but the fragile balance between tradition and rapid change across the Himalaya. Next, we follow those meltwaters into river valleys to see how Kamalangma's reach extends far beyond its snowy crown. Along the Yangtze River, the landscape shifts from jade-slick valleys to sheer stone cliffs in a succession of gorges so steep they trap clouds and sunlight in theatrical shafts. Do you know the Yangtze River's three gorges form one of the few temperate zone river canyon systems on Earth, where ancient forests cling to vertical rock and fossils whisper of vanished seas? Yangtze River cruise slips past Kutang Gorge's narrow throat, unfolding into Wu Gorge's watery cathedral adorned with hanging coffins and poems carved in weathered limestone. It is here that local myths meet human engineering, because the same waters that inspired Tang poets now feed the vast reservoir behind the Three Gorges Dam. On deck, passengers watch villages retreat beneath rising tides, while cranes and temples reappear like time's palimpsest at low water. The dam itself is a modern leviathan, an enormous attempt to tame, flood, and power the nation, and its presence reshaped ecosystems, archaeology, and the rhythms of river life. Downriver, the ship glides past islands where rare river dolphins once hunted in the eddies, species now pushed to the brink by changes in flow and habitat. Scientists and local storytellers weave a warning and a hope, cataloging fragments of life and planning corridors for fish and the ghostly Baiji that vanished from sight. Beyond the engineered shorelines, tributaries like the Guilin open mosaics of karst hills and terraced fields that link the Yangtze to upland cultures in Chongqing and Sichuan. Those cultural bridges are visible in food, dialect, and riverside temples, where bronze incense burners mark centuries of river worship. Every bend reveals a new vignette. A market spilling fruit onto the quay, a ferry crossing loaded with bicycles, an elder pointing toward a cliff shrine. Together, they form a living archive, an unfolding narrative that ties the river's geology and engineering to the intimate lives of fishermen, farmers, and pilgrims. The pillar forests of Yangtze are one of only a handful of landscapes on Earth where quartz sandstone columns soar hundreds of meters, isolating pockets of microclimate and unique flora. Do you know that these mist-cloaked peaks of Yangtze fed centuries-old myths that helped shape how communities chose natural ridgelines for defense, eventually influencing the placement of fortifications like the Great Wall of China? From those vertical stone forests, the story runs down into the great arcs of northern mountains, where humanity and geology met on a massive scale. And there the Great Wall begins its centuries-long dialogue with the land. More than a single structure, the Great Wall of China is a network of walls, trenches, and natural barriers stitched together over millennia to guard borders and control movement. Builders reused the very mountains and passes that made Yangtze mysterious, carving ramparts along ridgelines that make the wall seem to grow out of the earth itself. Few imagine that some sections were bound with an ancient form of mortar mixed from sticky rice and lime, a recipe so resilient it still holds bricks in place today. Signal towers once lit by day and night fires turned the wall into a living line of communication, relaying warnings faster than any courier across plains and peaks. What looks like sheer solitude from above was actually a buzzing infrastructure. Garrisons, beacon chains, supply routes, and watchposts linked villages to imperial centers. Sections like Jiangkou and Simitai still hold the raw, irregular profiles of original construction, while bricks from the Ming era show a precision that turned frontier defense into monumental architecture. Even stranger, the wall is neither uniformly continuous nor uniform in purpose. At times it was border, at times trade regulator, and at others, a psychological barrier shaping identity. Walking its winding parapets, you sense the conversation between human will and mountain stubbornness. And you begin to understand how landscapes like Zhangjiajie and ranges in the north became partners in China's long strategy of placemaking. The Great Wall is a palimpsest of labor and geology, where each stone tells of droughts, dynastic ambitions, and inventions that kept messages moving long before modern telephones. In the next section, we trace a single watchtower's story, from quarry to beacon, to reveal how local craftsmen turned regional rock into the spine of an empire. West Lake in Hangzhou hosts a rare phenomenon. Its subtropical basin creates microclimates that let centuries-old lotus varieties and tea terraces thrive side by side. Do you know West Lake's mirrored surface has been deliberately shaped for over 1,000 years? Its islands and causeways redesigned to mimic classical Chinese landscapes and even influence poets across dynasties. Walk along the Sioux Causeway and you pass willow-arched pathways where fishermen's nets once sustained entire neighborhoods, a living echo of Hangzhou's silk and canal commerce. From the secluded Lifeng Pagoda to the open expanses of Broken Bridge, each landmark is a chapter in a cultural landscape that blends folklore, imperial gardens, and everyday life. In autumn, the lake reflects the tea terraces of Longjing on the nearby hills, and the scent of roasted leaves drifts down into waters that mirror the sky. That intimate link between water and tea turned Hangzhou into one of Asia's most coveted sensory capitals, where harvest rituals and boat songs intersect. West Lake's islands were not accidental. They were engineered to create framed vistas, a practice that influenced landscape design across East Asia and even modern Japanese gardens. Artists and map makers have copied these framed views for centuries, sending images of the lake's curated nature far beyond China's borders. At dawn, you might spot traditional boats cutting through morning mist, while old women sell seasonal snacks at pier-side stalls that have fed pilgrims and scholars for generations. By dusk, temples light up, and local storytellers recount myths like the White Snake, a legend anchored to Lifeng's ruins and the lake's changing tides. Travelers following West Lake's tributaries will find themselves drawn toward Hangzhou's ancient Grand Canal, where commerce once tied the south to the north. The canal and the lake together formed an artery of prosperity, helping transform Hangzhou from a provincial hub into a cosmopolitan terminus of trade and pottery. So when you stand on the lake's edge, you're not just looking at water. You're peering into a layered history where nature was curated into myth and economy. And as you move from the quiet willow groves toward the bustling markets by the canal, the transition reveals how Westlake shaped the whole region's rhythm of life. In the next segment, we'll trace those market lanes and tea trails, seeing how the beauty first framed on Westlake ripples outward across China's cultural map. Prepare to discover unexpected links between a painted vista and the bustling streets that kept it alive for centuries. Only a handful of mountain ranges on Earth hold glaciers that feed deserts, and the Tian Shan in northwestern China is one of them. Do you know the Tian Shan's melting snow supplies rivers that carve life into the Taklamakan and nourish ancient Silk Road cities? Stretching over 2,500 kilometers, the Tian Shan spine stitches together alpine peaks, high plateaus, and hidden valleys. Its name, meaning heavenly mountains, hints at crystal lakes like Tianqi that mirror glaciers and ski hills. Here, blue ice tongues descend into forests where wild fruit trees once fed caravans heading west. Transhumant Kazakh herders still move their flocks between summer pastures and winter lowlands, following ancient rhythms. The range's glaciers are the headwaters for the Ili and Aksu rivers, shaping floodplains that sustain Xinjiang's farmlands. Those rivers braided into routes that later became arteries of the Silk Road, linking empires and ideas. In a single ridge, you can trace geological time, limestone cliffs, volcanic seams, and the remnants of once mighty ice sheets. Scientists journey here to study accelerated glacier melt, a hidden warning written in the shrinking tongues of ice. Yet the Tian Shan also keeps secrets of biodiversity, harboring endemic plants and animals found nowhere else on Earth. Small hardy species like the Tian Shan spruce and the elusive snow leopard make these heights their refuge. Travelers who reach Heavenly Lake find turquoise waters fed by cascades that taste of mineral and altitude. Nearby ancient petroglyphs and burial mounds whisper of the human stories braided into these slopes for millennia. From glaciers to deserts, the Tian Shan's water sculpts oases, irrigates fields, and even shapes the microclimates of distant plains. Understanding this chain of connections reveals why protecting the mountains is vital for millions downstream. As climate shifts accelerate, villages and cities that once relied on predictable meltwater face new uncertainty. Conservationists, local communities, and scientists are now weaving solutions that link traditional knowledge with modern science. That journey will show how one mountain range can be the hidden backbone of an entire region's survival. Zhangjiajie National Forest Park is home to more than 3,000 towering quartz sandstone pillars, some rising over 200 meters, creating one of the planet's rarest vertical forests. Do you know Zhangjiajie shelters living fossils, primitive ferns and cycads clinging to cliff faces that survived millions of years and hint at prehistoric subtropical ecosystems? Walk among these stone columns, and you enter a place where erosion has carved sheer spires, natural bridges, and hidden grottos that defy ordinary landscape logic. The park sits inside the Guilin scenic area, whose geology connects like a chain to nearby sandstone peaks and glass walkways on Tianmen Mountain. Mist often wraps the pillars in layers, and those drifting clouds create shifting corridors that early photographers mistook for floating islands. Local guides tell stories of springs that appear only after storms and sinkholes that reveal underground streams tied to the same karst system that shaped nearby caves. One sandstone tower supports a rare microhabitat where mosses and orchids sip moisture from fog, sustaining species found nowhere else outside these cliffs. Scientists have discovered endemic insects and amphibians here, whose evolutionary paths mirror the isolating effect of each pillar, like islands in a stone sea. In the next segment, we'll climb a narrow stair to an overlook that transforms the pillars into a forest of columns, each with its own name and legend. There we will meet researchers who study living fossils and local elders who still navigate the cliffs by memory, passing knowledge from generation to generation. Prepare to see how Yangtze's geology connects to broader stories of China's ancient landscapes, and while preserving these stone forests matters far beyond Hunan. This is more than scenery. It's a living archive that challenges what we thought we knew about evolution, climate, and the resilience of life on sheer rock. From the mist-shrouded karst towers of Guilin to the wind-carved sandstone of the Gobi, China's landscapes read like a living atlas. Do you know that the Dujiangyan irrigation system has managed floodwaters and fed rice terraces without a single dam for over 2,000 years? Walk the Great Wall, and it becomes a spine linking dynasties, mountain passes, and now humming cities. Follow its path, and you move from the lonely watchtowers above Hebei to the red cliffs of the Yellow River, cutting through the Los Plateaux. The Yangtze carves a road from the Tibetan Plateau to the East China Sea, carrying myths and modern megaprojects alike. Along its banks, ancient temples sit near gleaming shipyards, reminding us that tradition and progress share the same water theme. In Jiuzhaigu, mirror lakes capture entire forests so precisely that the border between ski and earth vanishes. Travel south, and the terraced fields of Yuanyang Unfood-like fingerprints, human hands following contours carved by centuries of careful farming. Every village, from the high Tibetan hamlets to the fishing coves of Fujian, holds rituals and flavors that refuse to be homogenized. Taste, music, and story become the threads stitching together the country's vast fabric. But this is also a story of choice, of balancing booming cities, industrial ambition, and the fragile ecosystems that sustain creativity and food. As conservationists work to revive forests, rewild rivers, and protect species once thought lost, the country shows how heritage and innovation can be partnered. So when you leave these landscapes in your mind, don't see them as postcards, but as open chapters waiting to be read. Stay with the questions we've raised. Which ancient techniques will inform modern solutions, and which hidden micro-world will be the next to surprise us? China's story is not finished. It is being written every season by stewards, scientists, and the countless voices who carry memory forward. Join us next as we descend into one last secret, an overlooked natural wonder that has guarded an entire ecosystem in plain sight.